Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, where in today's video we are going to be continuing My Hero Academia: The Dark Knight Returns. What if Deku was Batman? Part 8. As always, if you're new to the channel or if you're a regular and you like what we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcasting that has to come out now and in the future. Where we last left off with our series, the combined effort of Izuku, Melissa, Todoroki, and Ida was enough to overcome the dangers of the hero killer Stain. However, in the midst of their victory, they would soon be met by another awe-inspiring presence. A villain thought to be long gone in the rogues of the now retired Batman had now resurfaced back to life, none other than the world's greatest assassin and killer, Deathstroke. It was assumed that he had died 10 years ago in the War of Gotham, the very war that saw the death of Jason Todd, and that saw the retirement of the Batman as the world knew him. But now, a ghost from Bruce's past has re-emerged, and even more so, he has declared war on the hero world. How will the Bat family handle this new crisis that lies before them? And how will Izuku fare as he takes one step closer in his journey of becoming the world's greatest hero? For all this and more, stay tuned as we now continue My Hero Academia: The Dark Knight Returns. What if Deku was Batman? Part 8. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. In a dark alley, there would be the sounds of cries and screams. Two girls were making their way, running as authorities were chasing after them. Two officers. The two girls running side by side. One was by the name of Toga, and the other was a recent acquaintance. Her name was Jinx. How the two girls met, one can't be entirely sure. Many say it was simply a chance meeting between the two. They hit it off well, shared a couple stories, a couple laughs. The next thing they knew, the two girls had held up a bank and now they were on the run. Jinx, for the most part, was covering their getaway, although eventually they found themselves in a dead end. The officers held them at gunpoint, telling them to get on the ground. However, as one was preparing to call for backup, Jinx would give off a little tremor of her bad luck energy. Immediately as she did so, and within the alley, almost as if by mere chance, almost 1 in a million, one of the ledges on the sides of the building would break off slightly, enough to hit the shoulder of the cop calling for backup, causing it to dislocate immediately. As soon as his partner went to check on him, before Jinx could even blink, Toga was already on the move. Their guttural screams filled the night sky, as the alley was paved in their blood. Jinx almost had to throw up for a moment. She had never seen anything so gory. Oh God! What? Come on, it's a bad guy thing. It's what we do. I didn't ask for all of this. Well, we had to make a getaway. Come on, let's hurry before some more show up. The two girls would quickly jump over the fence as they made their way, both of them with the bags of money. Jinx had been looking to do this operation for a while now. Everything was supposed to be simple. She thought Toga would be good backup, but honestly, how had she gotten herself into this mess? Eventually, the two girls would make it back to a rendezvous, where a young man who had his skin that was rather shriveled and in a darkened tone, with piercings that seemed to almost be holding his flesh to his very own body. As he dressed in dark clothing, he looked up to the two girls as a blue flame danced within his fingertips. "Well, you two took longer than expected." Yeah, we ran into some trouble. But don't worry, I made sure I diced them up nice and good. And their blood, oh, it tasted quite delicious, although I couldn't stay for too long. Look, we just needed the money. There's no point in getting into a drawn-out fight. You know, for someone who wants to be a bad guy, you seem to always be worrying about the laws and things of that nature. Your power is already so destructive, you could do whatever you want with it. So just why on earth do you seem to want to hold back? It's not about holding back. I'm just being sensible. I mean, sure, if we wanted to go on a murder spree, then yeah, I think we could do some pretty good damage. But how long do you think we're gonna last before heroes show up and take us all out? It's about being strategic. Just because you can kill doesn't mean you have to. You sound boring. Sometimes I wonder if I should just lop your head off. That's enough, Toga. But Dabi! It's the truth. Jinx has a point. We don't want to be getting into unnecessary fights with the heroes if we don't have to. After all, there's no telling which hero might show up when. It might be some low level that we can take out, but God forbid if All Might were to show up. He'd wreck us all in mere seconds. We wouldn't even stand a chance. I guess you're right. But still. Immediately, their phones would vibrate. As they took them out, there was a video that was surfacing. One of a man dressed in clothes. Underneath the cloak, there lied a mask. A mask that was half black and half orange. Although for the man that spoke, he seemed as though he was captivating as they listened to his message. It's quite simple, really. You heroes have enjoyed your time of peace for long enough. But peace that's built on nothing more but a false foundation is one that's not meant to stand. I will usher in my own era of peace, and I will start by righting the wrongs that were written by you heroes long ago. You can call this an act of war, if you will. A war on the very hero foundation. I know you're listening, old man. I'll see you soon. Who is this guy? Toga would ask. I don't know. Word is he's some villain from long ago. Says he was around during the time of the Bat. The Bat? One of his old goons has come back into town? Must be. Although there is one name that's been going around for some time. Really? Jinx would ask. What's the name? Dabi leaned in, as the two girls also were looking to hear of this name. The scene would switch instantly over to Wayne Manor. Bruce would be sitting at the head of the table. On his left, there was Dick Grayson, along with his wife, Barbara Grayson. The two heroes now joined together as husband and wife. While Barbara had retired from the hero life, Dick still served time to time as Nightwing whenever possible, although he also served as a lieutenant for the GCPD. Along with them was Tim Drake, aka the Red Robin, along with Carrie Kelly, who also served under the hero name of the Sparrow, as well as Izuku Midoriya, who was in training for the mantle of the Bat, and even Ace the Hound lied at the feet of Bruce. It can't be, Dick would say. Tim, what did you think? I don't know. When I fought him, It felt as though he knew everything I was going to do before I even did it. I couldn't even get a single hit in. Not that I could originally anyway. Deathstroke, Bruce would say. But how is this even possible? Barbara would remark. He died 10 years ago. You saw it. You said so yourself. I could never confirm his death. And despite my searching, even with help from All Might, we never found a body. I just assumed that maybe he crawled off somewhere and died away, or that maybe he would just simply retire and live his remaining life in the shadows. But the fact that he's actually come back, and it seems as though he hasn't lost a step. Do you think it's possible? The Lazarus Pit, Tim would say. The Lazarus Pit? Izuku would chime in. Oh yeah, we never got to telling him of that. It was a sacred place, if you will. A fountain of youth that was used by the League of Assassins. The League? I've read about them in the data files in the Batcave. Their leader was Ra's al Ghul, Bruce would chime in. Although, I hadn't dealt with him in over 20 years. The last time we fought, we destroyed the hideout to the League of Assassins, and the Lazarus Pit. We even made sure that it was inusable. There's no way it could be back up and running. Unless there was another one we didn't know about, Dick would throw in as well. But let's just assume that there is no Lazarus Pit, Tim would chime in. He seems to be just as good as he always was. Did he acquire a new power? Did he possibly get a quirk somehow? I don't know. I don't really think that's up his alley. Besides, there's no real way to take and give a quirk, is there? Actually, there is. I assume that you know of All for One, Izuku. I've heard a little bit from what you've told me, from your fight with him alongside with All Might, but I don't know much else. Do you know that he had the power to take and give quirks? What? That doesn't even sound real. He could actually take a quirk? He could. It was said that he had many quirks stockpiled within him. When I fought with All Might against him, he seemed to have many abilities. Taking him down was not easy. And yet even still, we don't know the full extent of his power. You don't think that they could be working together, do you? It wouldn't even be possible. There's no way the two of them would ever have any recollection of one another. There's no way that their paths could cross, although it wouldn't be impossible to rule out. But right now we should focus on our main objective. If Deathstroke has truly made his return, then it means we need to be all the more vigilant. And for the most part, we need to make sure that if he is amassing allies, that we cut him off at the source. He took the hero killer with him, Stain, which means that in all likelihood he's going to be drafting him into his new army. An army? Made by Deathstroke. Have you found any leads in your district, Dick? I've been looking through. And how about your new ward? He's coming along. I actually have a mission for him. A mission? Yeah, if he's up for it. There's this place that needs investigating. An academy, known as Hive. Hive Academy. Yeah. I hear it's actually being run as an underground facility. A place to train villains. What? Izuku would say. A place to train villains? You mean like a UA but for villains? That's right, Izuku. I've been meaning to bring this up for a while now. Although, since you've been busy with your own training and with your own studies in UA, I didn't feel as though it were appropriate to bring it at the time. I actually have someone I've been training myself. I'm going to be sending him in as an undercover agent to try to figure out what's going on there. He won't be alone, actually. Really? You've actually found someone to go with him? We have. Although, it's kinda complicated, but I'll tell you about it later. I see. Tim, is there anything on your end? How about your new project? Oh, you mean Project Red X? Project Red X? Yeah, it's something that I've been working on since the sports festival. I don't want to give it away right now, but it's progressing nicely. How long do you think it'll be before it's ready? Not too long now. The program's going along fine for the most part. I must say, a pretty unique specimen. I see. Well, keep me posted in the meantime. Until then, we should all stay vigilant and sharp. We don't know what Deathstroke could be planning. Everyone would nod their head in agreement, before Bruce would turn over to Izuku. You have the final exams coming soon. Are you prepared? I am. The written test will be fine, Mr. Wayne. And also, I'm not sure what they're going to be doing for the actual practical exam. Although, whatever it is, I know I can handle it. Fine tune. Tim, see to it that his suit is up and ready for the next part of the exam. Understood, Bruce. Alright then. Everyone be safe. And dismissed. The Bat family would leave and go their separate ways. And for Izuku in the meanwhile, he also made his preparations, as the day of the final exams were soon to arrive. The students of Class 1A would be preparing not only for the written test, but for whatever was supposed to be coming as their final practical. Some thought that they were going to be doing what other previous classes had been doing ahead of them, and fighting more of the various practical robots. While it wouldn't have been all that original, it would have been expected. Izuku also took time to check in on Ida, as well as seeing how Todoroki was doing, along with Melissa. All of them were doing fine, having recovered from their fight against the hero killer. Ida being grateful that Izuku had been there to save him, and he promised that he would do better in the future. As everyone gathered together, they would be informed by Mr. Aizawa and by Principal Nezu that for their finals, it was going to be a bit different. They weren't going to be doing what many had expected, but actually, the students were going to be facing off against the teachers in a battle simulation. 2 students would be paired to face off against a member of the faculty. The way that it worked is that the students could pass the test by one of 2 ways. Fighting in a specific location, if just one student managed to escape within the allotted time, then both passed. Or if they were able to bind and capture the hero that they were facing, that would be playing the role of the villain, then they would also pass. However, if they didn't complete either, then they would fail. Many of the students would talk amongst themselves, many trying to wonder and figure out just who they were going to be paired with and just what was their test going to entail for them. As the pairings came out, Izuku saw that he was actually paired up with Melissa. Among the other pairings, there was Todoroki, along with Momo Yaoyorozu. There was Katsuki Bakugo, and he was partnered with Ochako Uraraka. As everyone was given their partners, it was soon revealed who they'd be facing. And for Izuku and Melissa, they were going to be facing none other than the #1 hero himself, All Might. Now, you might say that this was to be expected, but actually, it was what was going to happen this whole time. You see, Bruce had personal stakes in this as well. He wanted to see just how far Izuku had progressed, and if it was to his satisfaction. In order to truly see and make sure that Izuku got the test that he needed, he could only trust All Might with that job. And as for Melissa, well, she was only at UA to focus on her hero studies. After all, she was 2 years older than everyone else in the class. Technically speaking, she should be with the third years, but this was technically her first year at UA, and since she had already gotten her education at I-Island with her father, which was the equivalent to having a college degree, she didn't have to go to general studies or other classes with everyone else. No, while she was here at UA, her focus was only on hero work. Also, because of the fact that she was now the possessor of One For All and All Might's next successor, it was up to her to master this new power, using the Overflow. As the two heroes would be partnered, Izuku and Melissa, or the Batman and Jetstream. The two, now having been joined and aligned, would see that this was going to be a lot more difficult than they could have imagined. Izuku was told that he wasn't going to be getting any assistance from Bruce, although he would be watching intently to see what Izuku had up his sleeve. As they made their way to the middle of the abandoned city district, where their fight with All Might was going to be, Melissa would look to Izuku nervously, asking if he was alright. He assured her that he was fine, and that they were going to have to work together, that they were going to win this. He had a good understanding of how Melissa's powers worked. Because of that, he was able to well enough figure out that with Melissa's overall strength and speed, and with his ingenuity, they just might be able to come up with a plan that could get them to win here. For Izuku, it was about fighting smart, not just fighting with brute strength. As the test would begin, they would hear a loud boom as All Might began racing around the city, looking for his opponents. Izuku would tell Melissa to get inside of one of the tall buildings, one of the bigger and more spacious ones that they could find, and it was positioned in just a way that there wasn't much sunlight shining inside. All Might made his way into the center of the arena, as he looked around searching for the enemy. Well, it seems you've both taken to hiding, although that is to be expected from one of you. Izuku and Melissa would keep quiet, as All Might slowly turned and looked around to all of the buildings. He took both of his hands and then, with a loud clap, would face one of the buildings in his direction. The shockwaves of his clap was enough to send the building tumbling over. Melissa almost wanted to yell in horror, but Izuku made sure she kept quiet, as All Might had hit the wrong building. I have a pretty good idea of what you're trying to do, young Izuku. You intend to use the shadows to blend and hide within them. I must say, definitely a strategy that your master would use for sure. Although, you of all people should know that you're merely adopting the darkness. However, your master, my close friend, he was the darkness. A darkness that shined brighter than anything. A bit of a conundrum, or a contradiction. But my point still stands. In the end, I know what you're going to do before you even do it. All Might would turn around and clap immediately, and right in Izuku and Melissa's direction. Melissa grabbed hold of Izuku's hand and used Overflow at 20%. The two of them would jet out of the building immediately before it was hit by the shockwave, as they were now out in the open, and All Might had a good view of them both. He rushed forward with both arms extended, going for a double lariat. However, the two would instinctively duck down, as All Might realized that he had missed just slightly enough. Izuku and Melissa would both go for respective attacks, one from the right and one from the left. With All Might's arms above his head, it would give them enough room as the both of them would strike in his abdomen. All Might would actually be surprised by the attack, as it felt like a tickle. He grabbed both of their arms and then raised them in the air. "Well, it seems you two have good teamwork. I must say, that's better than most. So at the very least, I can tell that you're both competent heroes. But still, it'll take more than teamwork to take me down." All Might would quickly spin as he flung them both in opposite directions. That little display was more than enough for him to see what he had to deal with. If they already had cooperation down, then it meant that the two of them being together was dangerous, so he worked to keep them separate. However, Izuku kinda saw this coming. That's why, while they were hiding, he gave Melissa a little comm link to put in her ear. That way the two of them could talk to one another even if they were far away. Izuku had been thrown far to the eastern side, while Melissa had been thrown to the west. As All Might would chuckle once again, he turned to see who was going to get up first, and seeing who his target was going to be. He would be facing Melissa as she was getting back to her feet. However, his ears were trained attunedly, as he could hear the flinging of metal flying towards him. Batarangs, huh? All Might would turn around and punch the air itself, sending another shockwave blasting back the batarangs. As they were hitting back towards Izuku, a large puff of smoke would then appear instantly, shrouding him from All Might's vision. All Might would go racing through the smoke looking to catch Izuku, only for Izuku to be gone. And just where are you hiding? To the left or to the right? How about below? All Might looked down to see that he was standing over a manhole cover that would instantly blow up, as Izuku had used a few explosive batarangs from underneath. Having All Might stunned just long enough, Izuku would jump to see All Might, now as they were both face to face. Izuku would put everything he had into his punch. With the enhancement of the suit, he was actually able to knock All Might back just a few feet. Nothing too extraordinary, but a right hook that could definitely sting. All Might would go in for a bear hug, grabbing and holding Izuku in place. "Well, it seems you're able to pack quite a punch. But tell me, was getting captured a part of your plan?" "Actually, it was." Izuku would use his free hand, the left hand, as he placed it right on the side of All Might's face. Immediately, a shockwave of electricity would go surging from out of the glove, stunning All Might in place. "Melissa, do it now!" Instantly, Melissa would come flying in like a jet, her arms stretched forward and her eyes filled with determination, although she did have some worry. "Sorry, Uncle All Might, but here I go! Full tackle! Overflow! 20%! Instantly, Melissa would go crashing directly into All Might's back, sending him flying over into a pile of debris. All Might was nudged in there pretty deeply, and that actually hurt a bit. He hadn't expected this from the two of them. As Melissa was the first to get out of the pile, she would grab Izuku by the hand, Izuku using the boosters in his jets. The two of them would then go flying off for the exit immediately. However, All Might would quickly follow on their tails, as he went sprinting towards them. "What are we gonna do, Izuku? We're never gonna make it. He's gonna catch the two of us." No, he's only going to catch one of us. What do you mean? You just keep going for the exit, and I'll hold him off for as long as I can. Before Melissa could argue, Izuku turned back around to face All Might. However, All Might was not one to fall for such trickery, as he sent another massive punch, as a strong shock wave of air pressure would go flying past the two of them. Instantly, a large puff of smoke, along with the dust and the debris from the pressure of the air movement itself, would crash in front of Melissa, knocking her back along with Izuku right into the arms of All Might. All Might grabbing the two of them before delivering a double belly-to-belly suplex, holding them both and slamming them into the ground, as All Might stood up before the both of them. I must say, you heroes perform quite well, but even still, it's going to take a lot more than that to defeat me. Izuku reached for his holster, pulling out his grappling gun. He attempted to bind the feet of All Might. However, All Might quickly stepped on the coil before it could wrap around his legs. Relying on your gadgets, it will get you nowhere. Izuku grimaced from under his mask. The time was winding down and they didn't have much time left. But even still, he knew they were going to have to make a move. Melissa was now getting on her feet as she looked and sized up All Might. Well, Melissa, it seems you still have the spirit to fight. Of course I do. All Might. All Might would be a bit perturbed at that. There was no use of the honorific uncle in front of it. He could tell that something had changed. Melissa, what are you? Can you get out of here? There was only less than a minute left. I think I can make it, but what are you planning on doing? Simple. I'm going to buy you some time. Melissa, but you can't. Just go. I can handle this. Izuku got to his feet. However, All Might was standing between the two of them and the exit. And just where do you think you're going, young Midoriya? Hearing that actually sent some shivers down his spine. However, Melissa would step in between the two of them with her arms raised high. Your fight is with me. Oh, I see. You know, I have watched you from when you were just a young girl. You've always had such talent, such potential. Now, it's time to see the fruits of your training. You're right. Let me show you everything I've learned. Overflow, 25%. What the? Instantly, a large wave of energy would push off from her, Melissa feeling the crackles of electricity moving all around her body, as she went dashing towards All Might, as a ray of blue, yellow, white, and red all swirled into one. She would instantly appear before him as the two of them traded a series of strikes. For even All Might at that moment, he felt as though maybe he was going a bit too far. You see, while All Might had been putting on a brave face this whole time, he still had a soft spot for Melissa. A soft spot to where he didn't want to harm her too much, but still he knew what he needed to do. He thought maybe he could break her just enough to get her to submit. As Melissa had grabbed him by the waist, All Might raised both of his hands, delivering them down in an axe handle type maneuver, knocking her to the ground. He thought that would be enough, that he used just enough force for Melissa to understand her place. However, he would feel his legs being swept from under him as Melissa pulled him back down before raising him up and slamming him once again. I'm not a weak girl anymore. I hope you know that. You trained me to be strong. So don't treat me like I'm weak. Well, I must say, that wasn't... Before All Might could finish his sentence, Melissa punched him in the face once again, as she looked towards Izuku and yelled, "There's not enough time, Izuku! You need to go!" Looking at it, the clock had already reached down to 20 seconds. There wasn't any much time left, and there was still over 100 feet between them and victory. Using the rocket boots in his suit, along with his extended wings, Izuku would go flying towards the exit immediately, as fast as he could. All Might quickly arose to his feet once again. Even if you are like family, I still have a job to win, and I won't lose here. Melissa went in for another flurry, however All Might would backhand her away, as he went racing towards Izuku. Izuku pushing the suits to its absolute limit. What seemed as though was going in one bright flash, in that very moment, it was nothing but a blur. Izuku had pushed himself as far as he could go. The suit was barely reaching Mach 1 speed, and yet All Might was still close behind. As the seconds ticked down, everything seemed to be going in slow motion. There was only 10 seconds left, and there was only 10 feet away. Izuku reached out his hand, but instantly, All Might would appear beside him with a smile. In this one moment, even for Izuku being in front of his hero, this very sight, it terrified him. This time would tick down once again, this time to 8 seconds. Nice try, young Midoriya. But in the end, I win. The time ticked down to 5 seconds. And now this time, moving almost at speeds that matched even All Might's, Melissa would appear out of nowhere behind All Might. Even he hadn't noticed, but Izuku did. As he looked into her eyes, he saw a fiery fierceness, a strong determination. As she grabbed All Might, wrapping her arms around his neck and wrenching him back, the time ticked to 4 seconds. Izuku looked towards Melissa as she yelled, "Go, Izuku!" All Might's eyes would immediately change from that of sheer confidence to that of shock, as he didn't expect Melissa to get up that quickly or to catch up to him. Melissa yanked back with everything she had as she yelled, 25%! Overflow! Reverse smash! All Might would be flipped back on his head as Melissa executed a rear naked choke suplex, driving him and her directly into the ground. 3 seconds left. Izuku looked forward, riding the shock waves of the force of that attack. The current pushed the gliding wings of Izuku as he went zipping towards the finish line. With just 1 second to go, Izuku passed through the doorway. And with that, victory was theirs. Nezu would be amazed. It was by the skin of their teeth. It was literally down to just 1 second. 1 second was the difference. 1 second between victory and defeat. The other students watching in the monitor hall would cheer as Izuku went crashing into a barrage of trees that was just outside of the arena area. As the smoke cleared and the dust settled, he could feel that he was definitely going to be needing an ice bath, and he was not going to be getting up anytime soon. Even with the protection that this suit gave him, he had put it through its paces. Oh man, Tim is not gonna be happy about this. You got that right. Izuku would hear through the comms in his helmet. However, as he rose to his feet, Melissa would as well. The two of them giving each other a thumbs up, as they had both achieved their victory. All Might would get back to his feet as well. He wished he could move, but he could feel that he had reached his limit. All he could do was smile and be impressed as he looked upon the two young heroes. This was just another step forward for them. Another step in their journey to become the world's finest of heroes. This concludes What If Deku Was Batman? My Hero Academia The Dark Knight Returns, Part 8. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything else that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we continue Dragon Ball World's Strongest. What if Wonder Woman was in Dragon Ball? Part 8. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.